Alright, I'm just laying out my rosewood pieces now and marking out where my individual boards are going to go and what pieces I'm going to cut out of which blank. Now I've run these through a spiral head thicknesser and jointer, and what I'm trying to do is maintain all of the feature and waste as little as possible and get rid of any sapwood. But I also need to achieve the right widths and lengths for all the pieces, so I've got to be selective and I've got to keep as much as I can. I've pretty much only just got enough material here, so I'm getting rid of that ugly piece of sap, and I'm just checking my measurement there, and you'll see me do a quick little calculation here, and I end up with just enough to make the width that I want for the top. So now I'm just ripping down some mahogany stair treads that I've recycled to make the blanks for the legs. I'm gluing two bits together to make a square approximately 65 by 65 millimeters. So the top and the shelf and the aprons are going to be rosewood, the legs and the stretches are going to be mahogany. Now you may be wondering why this is all voiceovered. Well, it was just absolutely pouring in Sydney at the time, and I just couldn't use any of the sound that the camera or the microphone captured. It just sounded like an aeroplane taking off the whole time, basically. And I've arranged my pieces here for the glue up so that the grain all blends into each other really well. And I spent a little bit of time with the number 4 smoother plane just getting those joints perfect so that they line up really well. So these growth rings flow into each other. They just so happen to have a curve that was very similar from one piece to the next, and it blends in really nicely. So the amazing thing to note here is that I've got absolutely no dandruff at all, which is amazing. And I'm just cutting up for the notches to receive the aprons. There won't be mortise and tenons on this. These notches are what the aprons are going to sit into. The aprons are going to be a mitered frame. Oh yeah, look at this. Bang. Sorry. The apron's going to be a mitered frame. The miters are going to be reinforced with dowels, and then those corners are going to sit inside these little notches that I'm cutting out, and the legs are going to stop short of the top of the table, like in Japanese and Oriental style furniture. Here I'm just marking out for the arc at the top of the legs, and I just do that by using my prototype and scribing it with my knife, then filling that in with a pencil, and then I set my combination square to that depth and just scribe that along the ends, and of course a bit of stupid proofing. So I just used my Japanese saw to cut out the bulk of the waist along those lines, and then with my block plane, just using a rocking motion, I got that generic sort of arc shape, and I'll show you that close up. There you go. And then just sandpaper and checking with a square as I went. The mahogany is really soft, so sandpaper shapes it. Okay, so I've installed my stretcher, my long stretcher along the length of the table frame, and you know, perfect to my pencil lines, beautifully flush, square, great joint, really good. There's just one problem. That's not supposed to be there. That's supposed to be about 50mm inboard, and they're actually not meant to join to the leg, they're meant to join to the stretcher and sit under the shelf. The shelf doesn't come out this far. So what I have now is a stretcher that sticks out in thin air past the shelf. It's a stuffer. I've thought about it. Can I, you know, blend it in as a design element somehow? No. It's just going to look stupid no matter what I do. So it's going to have to come off, which means I'm going to have to replace two legs because they now have two dowel holes in the face, and I'm not going to stick dowels in there and cut them off. This is fine furniture, you just can't do that sort of thing. But what I do have, very fortunately, is when I made that picture frame, I ripped the sides, the boards down to thickness, and these were my offcuts, and I've kept them all, and they're actually wide enough. Now if this wasn't mahogany, if this was pine or walnut or something else, it'd be really obvious, you wouldn't be able to do that. With mahogany, the grain just blends into itself really well. So I am going to be able to glue these over the front, cover up those holes, machine them or just trim them to match the profile over here, and on the outside with a flush trim or even just with sandpaper, they're only about 2mm thick, and get away with it. So how about we do that now? Good as new.